Good afternoon and welcome to Robbins Works, brought to you by the Joy Robertson Agency. I'm Ara Lee Durham with the Robbins Regional Chamber, and I'm excited to share Robbins work with our members as well as future members joining us for this presentation. Robbins Works is just one of the many resources your chamber is using to get timely, relevant, and practical business resources to you. It's about business leaders sharing real-world solutions to common challenges. For those watching live, please post your questions in the comments section, and we'll cover those at the end of the program if they aren't answered by then. I'd like to welcome our local Allstate agent, Joy Robertson, and our featured guest, speaker certified worksite specialist, Kent Howard, to Robbins Works today. Hi, Joy. Hi, Kent.
Hi, Arlie.
How you doing?
Great. Glad to have you with us. We're excited to have you talk today about wellness in the workplace. Joy, thank you for bringing this topic to us. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and our guest presenter, and then let's jump right into the presentation.
Sounds great. So thank you so much, Arlie. I am Joy Robertson, and I'm an Allstate agent. I have actually serviced the insurance industry for over 23 years right here in Middle Georgia. So this is my home. You know, this is where I love to support our local business and community members here. I do want to say at the conclusion of this ceremony thing, we're going to have a drawing. So you want to make sure you stay tuned because I'm giving away a chicken salad chick and a Smoothie King gift card, and I'll have details on that a little bit later. So let's get started. A lot of people know that Allstate is auto and home. That's very common. But what they don't know is that we also are an industry that services individuals and businesses in many other ways. Today, you're going to hear from my featured speaker, Kent Howard. He is an Allstate benefits manager, and he also has this amazing title. Let me read it to you. He is also a National Wellness Institute certified worksite wellness specialist. And so Kent's going to discuss why a culture of health matters in the workplace and the community. Just so y'all know, Allstate is a $1.3 billion organization, and we service over 45,000 employers. So it doesn't matter if your business has 5 employees or 500,000 employees. We are here to offer you a product that is very competitive and voluntary. And so at this moment, I'm going to go ahead and change it over to you, Kent, and I appreciate y'all's attendance.
Hey, thank you, Joy. Appreciate it. And I'm happy to join everybody on the call today. And wonderful work that Robbins Works is doing in your part of the country. It's all important to us to stay as healthy as we can, as well as we can, particularly in the environment that we're in today. So I'm going to steal that phrase from you guys and say, let's just jump right into it, okay? So I think we're all probably fairly aligned, whether you're a business owner or whether you're an employee. We all really want the same thing. And we want to make sure we're stable, secure, and provide an income for our families year after year. I think that's a goal that we could all agree on the 30,000-foot level. So how do we achieve this, okay? Today's story is about consumer health, employee health, community health, and environmental health, and how they all connect to create a more healthy and well-being environment, not only at work, but at home and where we play and where we live in our communities. And how we do this was discovered. I discovered this going through a class about 6 months ago. My daughter shared this with our family that during COVID, when COVID really started to make an impact, March and April, a lot of institutions out there decided to offer a lot of their programming free for individuals. So one that jumped out at me on the link my daughter sent was through Harvard. My background is in health and wellness, population management, and helping employers get healthy through employee benefits. So Harvard was offering this class for free that normally costs thousands and thousands of dollars. But it's a 9-week class, faculty resources, everything from the business school to public policy to their health school. They were available. They made presentations. We had CEO conversations with captains of industry. And there's a time to reflect on what your own business was doing in the marketplace. And you can see there, they used as their story the 4 pillars of health: consumer health, employee health, community health, and environmental health. Those are pillars. Those aren't silos, and you'll see how they interact with each other in today's presentation. Where they start out is that every organization has the ability to influence community health and influence people, individuals, not only in their own business, but across all communities, okay? At the same time, reaping benefits and rewards for their business. In the business case they make, they show how reducing costs, increasing revenues and profits, and enhancing reputation can be achieved by adopting this culture of health, okay? And I think that's everybody wants to try to do that. If you're in business, you want to find a way to reduce your costs. You want to find a way to increase revenues and profits. And you want to make sure you've got the kind of reputation in the marketplace that's going to be attractive for others, not only as consumers, but also when you start looking for employees, attracting employees and retaining employees. So let's begin at the root of it. What is culture? And if you think about culture, it's just the way you do things. It's the way we do things here at my home, okay? Where I work, okay? It might be associations that I'm part of or organizations I'm a part of. And in order to evaluate what your culture is, you've got to compare it to something else. It might be compared to where you were before, okay? That's culture. So what is a culture of health? Culture of health encourages everyone, okay, to get healthy for themselves. But beyond that, it's going to go into your work, into the community, into the environment. So that's the definition that we're looking at today when we talk about culture. And so sometimes when I read a book, I'll go straight to the last page or I'll go to the last chapter. I want to cut through the drama and the suspense and get to the answer. So that's kind of what this slide's about here. We're going to take a look and see what is that business case? What were the results of one particular study? And what you're going to see is that these businesses that they studied, 207 large companies across 22 industries over 11 years, who had flexible cultures, and they spoke with multiple stakeholders. They were concerned with multiple stakeholders, including employees and consumers. You can see the revenue growth, employment growth, stock price growth, and their net income all grew exponentially. Not a little, but a lot. So that's the business case. They say you can run a more profitable business, one that performs year after year by adopting a culture of health. So let's kind of dig in. Let's look at these pillars, okay? Beginning with consumer health. So what is consumer health? Consumer health, in its simplest terms, is about the product or service that you're selling, that people are buying from you. And what we're finding nowadays is that a large percentage of the population believes there's some expectations regarding social and environmental issues they expect from the companies and the products and services that they're purchasing. But in its simplest form, if you look to the left, you see core. Those businesses that would be an example of core health businesses would be doctors, dentists, hospitals. That's how close they are to health, okay? And then going to the right, the incompatible category. That would be somebody like a tobacco manufacturer, okay? So you can kind of think to your own mind, where do you fall in this graph or this continuum here? Where does your company, what products and services do you offer, and where do you fall? And it's a balancing act, okay? This was a case study that we looked at during this study, and it had to do with CVS. They had just hired a new CEO, and the CEO came in and immediately wanted to stop selling tobacco. And CVS at that time was selling $1.5 billion in tobacco products. He got some pushback from the board of trustees and said, well, you can do that as long as you can replace, $150 million to our bottom line. So he had to slow go. It was a little balancing act, okay? He had to figure out how to get to the point to get everybody to realize that CVS was a healthcare company. Finally got everybody on board. And here's the results. First thing that he cited was immediate were the employees' reactions. They expressed their approval. They were excited. They felt like that there was now a vision of the company they had not seen before. And from a consumer standpoint, they saw a jump in tobacco cessation sales of $1 to $2 million. But taking a long-term approach, just in a 2-year period, they picked up $25 billion in their stock value, okay? So not only do they enhance their reputation, but they also improve revenues and profitability. That case study there is a wonderful case study example of what it means to be, to work in that consumer health pillar. And after every case study or after every discussion in every section of our study, we would be challenged by different survey questions, different times to reflect. And this is an example of that. What is the main reason that your business cares about the health of your consumers? And so this was the response of everybody that was taking the class at the same time I was. It was a couple of thousand folks at the same time over the same time period over a 9-week period, okay? But these were the kind of, assessments that you would have after each module of the presentation. And this is another one here. This is a little bit more reflective. They wanted you to think about your own organization, your own company. Where do you fit into that segmentation landscape regarding what products and services that you offer? So it gives you an opportunity to kind of review and think about your own business, and then also engage in conversation online with other business owners that are participating at the same time. So let's take a look at the employee health. This is the next pillar. And the best place to begin is let's look at a snapshot of Georgia health facts. And I guarantee you, when you looked at Alabama, where I am, I live in Birmingham, if you look at Alabama health facts, we're going to be a little bit worse off than Georgia. But this is a ranking of where Georgia ranks when it comes to behavior, clinical care, and outcomes. And you can see kind of the behavior, okay, where they rank. Clinical care, how many physicians, how many dentists are in your population? Those are important, having access to health care. Where'd you rank on preventable hospitalizations? And finally, outcomes. You can see where things like diabetes, cardiovascular deaths, poor mental health, and physical health days rank. When you take a look at all of these different metrics, you can see where Georgia ranks, okay, with the rest of the country. Number 39 and 40 the last 2 years. Alabama, we're looking at number 46 and number 47. This is important because this is our community. This is us. This is our family. These are the people that we grow up with, our friends, go to church with, and also our co-workers of ours. So what is employee health with regards to this presentation? Well, employee health, okay, businesses, they want to take a look, or businesses want to make sure that their employees are as healthy as possible. And typically, they're going to look at workplace safety. They're going to look at employee benefit programs and wage standards. And total worker health, that is a concept or a term that's used by the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. And those are the 3 Ps. And they say that if you embrace this total worker health philosophy, then you're going to have healthier workers that end up being more productive. Now, this was a survey that was done of the largest companies around the world with 1,000 employees or more. Didn't matter if you were in Asia, Europe, Canada, US, you can see, number one, what employers and human resource professionals were most concerned about was stress, okay? That was the number workforce risk factor they were most concerned with. Now, stress can be brought on from a variety of different things, everything from health concerns to financial concerns, worrying about your family. But one thing that keeps creeping up is something that's called presenteeism. And you can see all the factors there on that graph there. But everything loads and leads to stress. So what is absenteeism and presenteeism? Basically, we know what absenteeism is. If you're not at work for whatever reason, you're absent. What is presenteeism? I like to say it's people are showing up, but they're not fully there. And they're not fully there because they're thinking about something else. It could be a physical ailment. It could be something mental, something that's got them preoccupied. And what we're finding out that a large percentage of the people out there now more than ever are suffering from presenteeism. They show up to work, but they're not fully productive. And as you as business owners know, when you want people to show up for work, you want them to be fully present. So presenteeism, okay, as presenteeism goes up, productivity drops. And this study here gives you a better idea of how healthcare costs break down on this particular study for different types of illness and ailments with regards to presenteeism, absenteeism, drug costs, and medical costs. Now, I like to refer to the presenteeism, what you see in green, that's kind of the tip of the iceberg. You don't see everything. Somebody shows up to work, they're depressed, it might not be noticeable, okay? All these other conditions here you can see have an element of green. They can show up for work, but you might not fully understand what's going on in their lives. You might not fully understand the impact it's having to your business at that time. And here's a case study that we looked at during the course. Johnson & Johnson has tens of thousands of employees, not only here in the country, but around the world. In 2011, they decided to try to get a grasp of what they can do to improve the total health of their employees. So they set pretty aggressive goals that they wanted to try to achieve by 2015. As you can see there, 90%, 80%, 80%. They wanted 80% of their individuals to take a health risk profile and then ultimately be in a low risk profile. And all that had to do was a lot of times of just identifying what conditions that they had and taking steps to improve them. And Johnson & Johnson's had great results. In 2015, in their Citizenship and Sustainability Report, which you can find online, which they publish out there, they found that 93% of the employees had access to all their health programs. And 92% of them took a risk appraisal questionnaire and had knowledge of key indicators, everything ranging from their glucose, blood pressure, weight, and cholesterol. And that's the biggest part of getting healthy, is to understand what conditions you have, what are the concerns, and then you take steps to try to improve upon them. Now, they did drop below 73% of those folks that did take those risk appraisals fell into the low risk category. But at the end of the day, they were able to determine that they saved over $560 per employee annually for 7 years in just healthcare costs. The wellness programs only cost $300. So the return on investment was pretty significant. So what they were able to achieve was improving their relationship with their employees and also improving their bottom line. And there again, this was a survey that occurred after we did our study of this case study and continuing conversations with other faculty members from Harvard. And they wanted to find out, how your own company measures up, okay? Why do you think your company, your coworkers, how do they describe your organization? So we'd have a series of these questions. Some were multiple choice, some were more detailed that you had to provide additional answers for that were in written form. But this kind of gives you a good glimpse of how in depth the program goes. So next, let's look at community health. So what is community health, okay? Well, community health goes beyond just the individual. It's going to take in a specific geographic location. And if you think about what Robin Works is doing, you're trying to provide employers and employees in your geographic area tips and ideas and best practices to improve your productivity, your health, and your well-being. So today is an example of what you're doing to improve the community health in your own world. And as we all know, communities, okay, what do they do? What do they provide? What do businesses provide to communities? Tax revenues, stable jobs, and growth, and a sense of belonging and pride as well. So here's a case study. Everybody knows Campbell Soup. Familiar with that company? How many of us had Campbell Soup over the years? Well, that's a 150-year-old business. But where their corporate office resided in Camden, New Jersey, they ranked 18 out of 21 counties based on health outcomes, and 13% of the people fell below the poverty line. If you remember looking at those Georgia facts, it's the same thing. They looked at those outcomes for that specific county. So Campbell Soup, they made a commitment. They said, you know what? We're going to renovate our home office campus, and we're also going to dedicate $10 million to healthy community programs, okay? Campbell Soup identifies very closely with childhood hunger and nutrition simply from the product that they offer. And if you remember that the chart we looked at earlier, your product or your service that it offers, how close is it to health? Campbell Soup's going to be pretty close to that. They can have an impact in a community's overall health. And they partnered with other organizations that had the same makeup, the same DNA, and had the same concerns. And as you can see, why did they do it? Well, first of all, it was the right thing to do. But what ultimately occurred is they improved the health and productivity of not only the current employees, which lowered their healthcare costs, direct and indirect, but it also improved the health and well-being of future employees. And it also helped in their retention as well. So let's look at our last pillar, environmental health. So what is environmental health? It's all about protecting humans' health and well-being, pollution, toxic chemicals, but it's also more about air, water, clean water, and land healthy, okay? That is environmental health. Behavioral economics, that's a term I was not familiar with until I took this course. I knew what economics was, but I didn't know what behavioral health economics was all about. And the bottom line, what it's about is understanding what people do and what they think and what their tendencies are. People focus on today, not next year, let alone future generations. And what I liken it to on a personal basis, I know I am going to need to replace a roof at some time in the life of my home. Now, I might not save every paycheck. I might not save every month like I need to. I put it off. I'm optimistic, thinking my roof's going to last longer than it should, but I'm not planning ahead for the future, okay? So what behavioral economics is all about is factoring that into the decision-making process of businesses. Think long-term, and you better think long-term because your bottom line, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years is going to depend on it. So that was a new term for me to learn, behavioral economics. Here's a particular case study that's all close to us. We're all familiar with Southern Company, great organization that provides a lot of our electrical generation in our part of the country. And there was a regulation that was passed many years ago, the Clean Power Act, to help get companies like Southern Company to clean up and reduce their emissions. And there was a time that came when it was going to look like it might be getting repealed. Well, by that time, Southern Company and AEP, another organization, another electrical generation company, said, we're not worried about it. It can get repealed. We don't care because we've already built it in to our business model and into our investment strategy. They determined already that it was good for business for them to look at ways to provide clean energy, for the future, for the community, and for themselves. And behavioral economics says there's a pathway that you can follow. You can make sure that you keep up with social norms, know what's going on, that's out there, what's around you. Be transparent, willing to share and disclose information, and always remind employees to prioritize safety first. And then make healthy choice a default. When you do those things, you will be looking for the future, not just today, not tomorrow, but many years beyond. So Southern Company and other organizations realize just by making good decisions, they can improve their bottom line and enhance their reputation as well. Allstate, the company that that Joy and I work with, one of our exercises we had to go through this program was to dig into our own company and find out where are they on this process of measuring sustainability, environmental footprint. And I was very surprised to find how transparent Allstate is. The goals that they set back in 2010 to try to reduce their carbon footprint, trying to reduce paper. And by the way, when they try to reduce paper, it also makes it easier for consumers because they're looking for ways to try to improve consumer interaction through the internet in ways other than just paper. But they were very proactive and very transparent in the goals that they wanted to try to achieve. And so now every year, they've got a sustainability report that goes through and talks about the progress that they made in each one of these categories. So now we looked at a lot of large companies. We looked at Campbell Soup, we looked at Allstate, we looked at CVS. Those are large companies with a lot of money, a lot of deep pockets. So, but where do you start as a small business? You're not going to have the same resources. So here are a few tips that I think that can make a difference in your workplace culture for your employees. So you want to start close to home. Figure out maybe what your purpose is or rethink your purpose and create awareness and connect. So close to home, what I mean by that is in your own workplace, okay? Engage with the employees, talk to them, know what's on their minds, know what's going on. This was a survey that came out that MetLife put out. It's a great survey. It was just done back in June. And what they found, what employees are interested in and what employees are offering, there's a big gap. And there's also a lot of anxiety. There was a lot of anxiety and work-life balance prior to COVID that's only grown exponentially. So the takeaway here is just engage, talk to your employees, find out what they're thinking. You might be surprised. And then also figure out what you're doing well. Go through a little worksite wellness audit, okay? What kind of message are you trying to deliver to your employees? Have you got everybody on board? Maybe there might be some people in your organization that could be good influencers with other employees. Are your policy and handbooks consistent with the employee benefits that you're offering? Are you doing the kind of awareness and communications that's consistent with all those items there? And then what can you do better? Vending machines. This is a great example. I was discussing with a friend of mine who managed benefits at University of Alabama. And I was asking about his vending machines. We were having a wellness discussion. And he said, you know, that's a source of income for them. So that was really out of compliance of what they wanted to try to achieve to be a wellness type environment. Look at those vending machines, figure out what's in them. Earlier, we talked about making good decisions or good health a default, taking a lot of those sugar drinks out and putting good stuff in. That makes a decision a lot better or a lot easier for a lot of other folks, okay? So you want to go through an audit, figure out what you're doing well, what you can do better, okay? Discover your story. Everybody's got a story about the services and products that you offer. And these are just two people that I've encountered in the last year. We've got an electrician, great guy, does a wonderful job. Matter of fact, he's working in our house today. And we were talking several months ago, and he was telling me about he was working in one home and he found a frayed wire, but he didn't want to scare the family and tell the family of how much risk they were. And I told him, I said, Miles, I said, you want to tell them that story. You want to let them know, you want to educate them. And when you do educate them, they're going to see you as a partner. they're going to see somebody that cares about them. And then what it'll do for your business, they're going to be a great referral or recommendation for you. And he said he never thought of it like that. I met this fellow on a flight. He was a rancher out of Montana. And we were sharing the story about what each other do. And he happens to be a Mississippi State University graduate. So he's from our neck of the woods. Him and his family have a family ranch, 300 head of cattle. And he also has a catfish operation in Mississippi that his family started out years ago. So as we began our discussion, he started telling me how many head of cattle he had, and I put it in terms of how much protein he was providing to feed people. He never thought of it like that. And the same thing with catfish, the protein that he's providing to communities and individuals and families. He said, I never thought of it like that. And so I got to go home and tell my family, this is what we're doing. This is what we're about. So I challenge you, look at your own business, discover your own story, and find a way to communicate it out there to others. And create awareness. Create awareness in your workplace. This is actually what a business was doing in Decatur, Alabama. They had a bulletin board, low tech. Forget about social media, forget about posts and all that stuff. They had a bulletin board, and what they put up there, what was going on in the community, how people can make healthy connections in their own community. They also included a few little contests, how many steps people walked or how many minutes they walked in a particular time. So you don't have to go high tech. It can be low tech, and it doesn't have to cost anything. And this is an example of how you can connect in the community. This is something I just finished up with at our Rotary Club. We created a Hike the Hill event. It was a social distance hike that took our community past our high school, and our businesses in the local area got on board with it and helped support it. The money was going to raise money for our local schools, teachers, and PTO programs. But there's ways for you to get visible out there, which I'm sure a lot of you already do in your community. But there's all kinds of ways that you can create awareness about what you're doing and what you're offering in the community. And then finally, consider signing up for this class. Joy can send you the link out. Doesn't cost anything. I think it's still available. It's a 9-week commitment. There's no doubt about it. But it might be worth your time to spend a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours a week. You might pick up some things and learn some things here. Today was just meant to be a quick overview of how the course went and the things that we would discover together. But consider enrolling yourself. And let me just end with this slide here, really. What keeps you up at night is the same thing that keeps me up at night. We're all worried about our family, health, and money. Doesn't matter what you do for a living. Doesn't matter where you live, how much money you make, what your position is in the organization. This is what keeps us up at night. And when we can work together, okay, to create more opportunities for us to sleep soundly, we're going to have a better community. We're going to have better outcomes, and we're going to be more productive as businesses that are out there. And if you'd like a tip sheet, I'll be more than happy to send you a tip sheet. All you've got to do is email Joy, and we'll get this tip sheet back out to you on some things that you can do to get started. Thank you for your time. Joy, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kent, for that presentation. Definitely appreciate you. And yes, if you would like a copy of that tip sheet, please feel free to email me, joyrobertson@allstate.com, as you see on the banner below. And do keep me in mind for your personal insurance needs. I do auto, home, life, renters, retirement, as well as benefits, commercial, and whatnot. But what I want to do now is I want to bring us back to this drawing. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I do have a Smoothie King and a Chicken Salad Chick gift card, which are my local neighbors. I'm right in between the two of them, so I have great food options and drink options. And they're healthy options. So that's important too in this whole discussion. But how can you get in it to win it? So all I need you to do is please comment on this broadcast one positive thing that you took away. I would love to hear your feedback. So please comment below in the comment section one positive thing. And then make sure that you go to my Facebook page. So I'm Joy Robertson Agency on Facebook. Like my page, and on Monday, I will be giving away these gift cards to a lucky winner. So I definitely look forward to hearing from you on your feedback. I appreciate your attentiveness to our live broadcast today. And now I will turn it over to Ara Lee. So thank you so much, Kent.
Thank you.
Well, Kent, thank y'all so much for being here today with us to help us learn more about tools for wellness in the workplace. As I was listening to the broadcast, I was reminded of the Arthur Ashe quote, "Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can." So no matter if you're a large multinational corporation or you're a small chamber with a small but mighty staff of 4, we can make changes in our workplace that will help our employees and make a big difference in our community health. And I so appreciate y'all for helping us get that message out. Again, I'd like to thank y'all for being our speakers today. Appreciate Joy Robertson Agency and Allstate Insurance for their assistance with this program. Thank all of you joining us for this installment of Robins Works. And the replay of today's presentation can be found through the same link, so you can view it later or share it with a colleague. Please tell your friends about this program and be sure to tune in next time. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.